So are you ready for me?
Are you serious? Are you serious, folks? Welcome to the broadcast. We have got an exciting broadcast for you today. I mean, some powerful information. You know, this has been long overdue. Of course, we've been talking about it on our live shows from time to time, but I think it's time to really take a look at the impact of globalism versus nationalism. And nobody better to bring in here to talk about this subject, as well as a lot of others, than our good friend Stan Deyo, who is certainly, he's seen just about everything, and it seems like everything runs in cycles, but this is an attack, maybe. Yeah, I would think so. On a Christian culture, it could be drastically affected in Europe. Depends on these results of these elections. So welcome to the broadcast, Stan Deyo. Stan, how you doing?
Good, Paul. I was just telling you before we went on air, we've got a little bit of a blizzard north of us, about 40 miles in Colorado Springs, about to start. So if you hear a lot of window rattling and stuff here, as we have been hearing in the last hour, that's why. But other than that, we're great here. We've been out, enjoying the start of spring, and trees are budding out in the orchard and out the front. So I hope they don't get clobbered by this blizzard just north of us, because we're going to catch part of it.
You know, this is really strange, Stan, because this is the second, what they're calling a cyclone bomb, and this is the second one to hit the exact same area basically in the last 30 days, and they're calling this Winter Storm Wesley, historic storm, yet this is spring. Your orchard is budding. I mean, what's going on?
Well, Holly's already mowed the front yard 3 times, so to give you an idea, I mean, things are just coming alive. We got birds in here trying to make nests and mating and everything. You'd think it was spring.
Well,
weird.
It's, again, we're seeing so much extreme weather conditions, folks, all over the world, and obviously we've talked about this in the past, that the potential pole shifts and this strange weather that's taking place, and the sun is supposed to be in a solar minimum, but there's a lot of strange things happening there with recently here with these sunspots opening up, stands. So I keep thinking about EMPs, and I know we're going to get to that in a minute, because that can always be a threat to the human race. But let's talk a little bit about what's going on in the European Union. The elections are coming up on May 23rd through May 26th. The EU will be holding its elections, and this could absolutely, and look at the EU already, Stan. I mean, is Britain ever going to Brexit, or will they ever exit? And I feel sorry. And look at France, the yellow vest protesting, and the immigration and the taxation. I mean, it's a mess over there, isn't it?
It is, and I'll say this, and listen carefully to what I say. I'm in favor of a world government, but only as long as Jesus the Christ is in charge of it, because no human or human group could be in charge of a planet and administer it fairly to everyone. Only the creator of our planet and us could do that. So with that being said, I resist, and I think a lot of the European nations are going to try to resist, especially Hungary, to resist this race to globalism, because it's not going to be a Christian or a Judeo-Christian government. It's going to be a hodgepodge religion run by the Catholics and the Muslims. And I'm distressed by this. I know the prophecy says it will happen. We see that, and in Cosmic Conspiracy back in 1978, on page 200, it's always on page 200 of the extra editions, I showed the map of where the Club of Rome is dividing the earth into 10 regions, just like the 10 toes on the vision that King Nebuchadnezzar shared with Daniel. But it's all kind of all over the place at the moment. But I think we're going to see it settle into 10 nations in Europe coming together, and 10 regions of the earth being the supra formation of this world government. Anyway, that's just kind of my thoughts.
I think you're on exactly on point. The 10 nations, the 10 horns that's in the book of Revelation, the fact that the 10 toes was in Nebuchadnezzar's image, with the 10 toes, again, 10 nations, and how that the clay and iron mixes. And you're exactly right when you talk about what the Club of Rome had put together, this 10-nation agenda. And also, I have a book in my library. It's about 140, no, it's 145 years old. And in it, it depicts what they called the Illuminati's future world ideal, in which it shows the 7 continents of the world being divided into 10 sectors. So I mean, this is all right down the biblical scale. I mean, and now Stan, they just the EU just put together what they call the European Union Intervention Initiative, and the 10th nation just signed on. It's Finland. So they just did it. I mean, this is basically they're getting ready to create the EU army. So it's all coming together, isn't it?
It is. I'm still trying to understand prophecy on this, because if you look at Nebuchadnezzar's image that he shared with Daniel to have it interpreted, there are 2 legs of iron in the statue, and that's the east and west legs of the Roman Empire. We're pretty sure and it revives, and you go down to the feet with the toes of clay and iron mixed. It's talking about East and West Rome being revived. Now, how can we have 10 regions of the earth if it's the 10 regions you're talking about is the revived Roman Empire? It's got to have East and West. It's got to have Middle Eastern members of it, as well as the Western members of Europe. So I'm still confused in my own mind as to what those 10 regions are in Nebuchadnezzar's dream. Are they the 10 regions of the whole earth, or 10 like countries in Europe that joined part of a larger organization? I'm just still not decided. What's your thought about that?
I actually think it's a great question. I actually think it is 10 nations that in Europe, 10 nations in Europe that are a part of a bigger empire. So, well, I mean, I could be wrong, but I really think that might be what it is, and that can be part of that belonging to Rome. And when you also look at the fact that you talk about these religions, and you're right. I mean, Islam has to be a part of this overall plan. I mean, there's just too many nations in the world with Islamic belief. So, yeah, I mean, this thing is coming. And let me ask you, since the European Union elections are coming, you got Britain wanting, the people of Britain voted 3 years ago, Stan, to Brexit. And Theresa May's had 3 years. And, I think her whole, I'm now believing that Theresa May's whole responsibility was to stall. Just to stall and to wear down the population into caving. She has now twice brought the fact, why don't we re-vote on this maybe and stay? So the people can't get out of the EU in England. And on the other side, the French have the highest taxes in the world, horrible migration problems, tremendous frustration. This is why you have the Yellow Vest movement. The people, the common people in Europe they don't want to be a part of this globalism movement. And certainly Hungary doesn't want to be, and Viktor Orban, does he?
No. So it's confusing, isn't it, how it's going to turn out, because you've got the political superstructure over the peoples of these countries we're talking about, and yet the people want a different thing. Now, when I looked at the Illuminati outline, which was in the Protocols of the Elders of Zion, which was a spurious document, but it's very close to what's happening. When I look at that, they said that the people of the nations of the world would be so disappointed, so unhappy with their leadership, that they'd cry for a new kind of government, and then they'd all fall prey to this new world order that would be set up to save them from their own governments. And I think anything that turns the people of any nation against their governments now is fitting into that plan.
That is a great point, Stan, and that's what we see happening in Europe for sure, and in some incidents, we're seeing it in America. I mean, let's face it, we've never been this polarized or this divided. And this Green New Deal that just came out, when I first saw it, I thought it was an April Fool's joke. I mean, I really did. I'm not joking. It was so bad. I mean, what's your take on this?
Oh, look, I'm there with you. I mean, but it's so obviously ridiculous, insane, that you've got to think that they put that forward for a reason, to make the left look that way for right now, which ensures that the Trump administration will have a second term.
And I do believe that Trump will win a second term. There's no doubt about it. I mean, I just saw it today. I think it's even on your website. Folks, go to standeyo.com. That's www.standeyo.com. He's got a great website in which he puts key articles and breaking news and different things going on. Sometimes he posts my YouTube videos. I've seen them on there. I'm thinking, boy, Stan must be running out of material or something. I don't know.
Well, you must say Holly, because I don't do that. She gets up 6 days a week at 4:30 and starts all gathering the news and putting it up. No, she's in charge of that. So let's thank Holly for that.
She does a great job. And by the way, I just seen it was on your website. The President of the United States' poll numbers in the Rasmussen poll, 53%. I mean, that's got to be, the people at CNN must be, their jaws must be dropping right now.
Must be. I'm certainly glad to see that Netanyahu's come through with the election, and retained his seat there as the prime minister. The main reason is that with him there, and with the peace negotiations between the United States and Israel and Middle East and Palestinians, with this about to happen, you couldn't really see Netanyahu being replaced with a new government that would then put a stop to all this, or halt to it for a while, because everything is lining up right now for that peace treaty to be made, and then the Antichrist will ratify it or sign it. So I don't think it'd wait another 4 or 5 years. We're at the prime time for this to happen. So. Right. To me, it encourages me about the prophecies.
It really does. I mean, it's so unbelievable how perfect it's playing out, that when I saw that Benjamin Netanyahu won the election, I was glad that he won. But when I saw that he won, I said to myself, okay, there's nothing now to slow down this process. I mean, in a few days, they're going to bring it out, Stan. They're going to Kirshner's going to bring it forward, and I expect there to be resistance on all sides at first. I'm thinking Arabic nations are going to say no. Some of the Israelis are going to say no. Some of the Americans are going to say no. Some of the Christians are going to say no. I mean, it's going to be everybody at first, but then as it begins to be negotiated according to the Bible, it apparently is going to come right on down the line, isn't it?
Yeah, apparently so. And I've been looking for a little bit of a surprise in this whole equation over there, because now you see Russia and Turkey getting together with Syria, and this coalition is forming, a strong base for Russia in the Middle East as well. And if you look at this peace treaty already, Netanyahu said, okay, I'm getting rid of the Palestinian occupation of the West Bank. That's going to become back to Israel. Well, okay, that means a one-state solution, not a two-state solution.
Right.
So with this on the table, and with the Palestinians going to kick up about it, and a few of the others, maybe Syria and possibly Jordan, if the Russians in Syria, where you've got Damascus, if Israel attacks Damascus because of the Russians being there with nukes, and helping Iran to put up a base there as well, dedicated to taking out Israel. If Israel defends itself with a nuclear weapon, this will put the cat amongst the pigeons in the Middle East, because everyone's going to say, oh, no, wait a minute. Everybody's going to start throwing nukes around. Let's call a peace treaty. Right. And even the Palestinians who've been holding back, say, we'll never sign a treaty, might think twice about, holy cow, they used a nuke. They're serious. And I think this might draw everybody to the table that ordinarily would have said, look, we're not interested. They're going to be interested out of fear, I think.
So do you think that somebody will drop a nuke, and do you think that Israel might drop it on Damascus, or do you think, or someone else may do it, and that's what will bring this about?
Yeah, I think Israel would be blamed for it even if they didn't do it. It would be, trying to incite support for the Arabs and the Palestinians if it did happen. But the description of what happens to Damascus is, it was night, it was day, and it used to be there, and then suddenly it's a trash heap, a burned rubble. And the only thing I know to do that would be an eruption of some of the volcanic areas underneath it, or a nuclear weapon dropped by somebody.
And to your point, Israel will get blamed for it whether they do it or not. Somebody may do a false flag and actually just nuke Damascus and then say it was the Israelis, or the Israelis may do it because the Iranians, along with the Russians and the Syrians, camped at their doorstep. I mean, let's face it, Netanyahu has been, how many strikes has he done in the last year on Iranian positions in Syria? I mean, so he's serious about pushing them back, and Trump's got his back, telling the world, look, we're with Israel no matter what happens. And actually in biblical prophecy, it kind of shows you that eagle's wings is flying along with the woman to protect her. And, so certainly I think you're onto a big point. And let's talk about this nuclear potential, or EMP even. I mean, it could be an EMP can do some tremendous damage. And
not on Damascus, according to the Bible. It's going to burn it to the ground.
Right, not Damascus. According to the Bible, you're exactly right. It's going to become a ruinous heap, completely destroyed. But do you possibly think an EMP could be used on Tripoli or on Beirut, or is there something weird like this could happen?
Yeah, here's another scenario that I've talked about in the past. Suppose that Russia is wanting to cement its position in the Middle East and become a powerhouse in the Middle East and get rid of Israel as well. Now, it knows that if it touches Israel, the United States, especially now under President Trump, will retaliate or prevent Russia from doing that. It'll be a bloody war. But if Russia knows this, then Russia may preemptively strike the United States, the technology and the weapons of war that are deployed elsewhere, may strike all those to keep America interested in solving its own problems and not, interested in the Middle East enough at that point to help Israel. So there might be a preemptive strike to hurt the United States and to keep us out of the Middle East defending Israel at some point in time. That's just another thing I throw out there, because Russia knows that if they touch Israel, America's going to touch them too in a hard way.
Yeah, and I think you're exactly right. And one way to keep America off balance would be to do some type of preemptive strike on America. The Russians are not beyond doing such a thing. I mean, look, this Cold War mentality since World War II, it's went on and on and on, but at some point it doesn't always remain cold. There's too many nukes now and too many people getting their hands on it. And there's now, you could see the Arctic. I mean, everybody wants the Arctic now. Russia certainly wants the Arctic, and Canada wants it, and the United States want it, Norway wants it, and everybody, the EU wants it. So there's so many areas of danger now. And let me ask a question, Stan. I mean, of course, you have this invention, this brand new product you had that can help people protect their homes in case of an EMP attack or an EMP from a solar flare from the sun. And do you want to share a little bit about this product? Because I think, folks, you can always pick up the phone and just call, find out about it and what you need to do to protect your house. The phone number is 620-412-9978. That's 620-412-9978. Stan?
Hey, tell them to use I think we gave you a coupon code. Tell them to use your code, say that you're from the from the Begley show.
Okay.
If they use your code, it'll save them $50 per
Yeah, use the Begley code. Brock, do you have that code there with you? I don't have it on you. We'll put it in the description. Use the Begley code. I think it might be Pastor Paul or Paul Begley or Begley something. Use it, folks. Save the $50 on this product. And tell a little bit about this product, Stan, how it works and what it takes.
Okay, Paul, we started developing this, my partner Tim and I, back in 2017 while we were working on an atmospheric electricity source, for people to use. And we realized that we had to protect ourselves from lightning strikes because we had an antenna in this. And so Tim went off and he had some previous designs he'd been working on for lightning suppression, and he altered it and made it into a thing that acted so fast that it could protect against EMP strikes overhead from the sun or from nuclear weapons. And the way he designed this is how it worked. The EMP releases a huge cloud, thick cloud of electrons moving very fast from the blast area, spreading out all over, in this case, the United States, going right through walls, everything. And it is such a huge amount of electricity that dumps onto the power grid, which has miles and miles, hundreds, thousands of miles of length in it. It collects all these electrons and shoves them down into everybody's power box, right outside their house, and into the breaker box itself. And it's such a huge amount, like we're talking 100,000 amps maybe, or, well, realistically probably 60,000 amps, but 16,000 volts. And we're talking a huge surge of electricity coming into your house from this EMP. And what would happen if you don't have any way to protect against it, to throw it down into the ground instead of letting it get in your house, it blows up things on your circuit breaker box. It causes fires in the walls and all kinds of stuff. And it happens so quick, in the blink of an eye, less than that, 250 billionths of a second, all this happens. So how do we stop that? And the way we do it is to put a little gizmo that's been designed, the EMP shield, inside or next to your breaker box in your house. And 4 wires are hooked into it so that our device says in a half of a billionth of a second, it says, the voltage has gone up over the safe range, no matter whether it's lightning nearby or whether it's EMP shield or what. Okay, we better put all the electricity in the house and coming into the house both down into the ground in a rapid way so that none of that can get into the house and burn out equipment and that kind of stuff. And that's what our device does. There's no other device that we know of in the world, and we filed patents and everything for all this globally. And we tested government nuclear testing labs. We did that over in Pennsylvania here recently, and you can see on our website we spent over $45,000 or $44,000, I think, in testing. And they have never seen anything like this. The government testing lab said, we have never seen a device like this. We didn't know it would work. So, that's how it was designed. That's what it's designed to do. And people say, oh, well, I've been reading the press. They say, well, we might have a nuclear war with Russia or China or something. But, I think they're saying in the press, we think that's just a lot of hype, to worry people. But what they don't understand is the major threat is from a solar EMP, several of them, in fact, from coronal mass ejections and from activity on the sun, which, as you've mentioned already, is not behaving itself. In this low activity period, it's been producing magnetic storms on the Earth already. And they last not for like 250 nanoseconds. They last for hours and sometimes up to a day, and delivering all these high voltage, high energy currents all over the planet. And so that's what everyone's afraid of. And the U.S. Air Force, I'm not talking out of school here, they've already come out publicly last year and said, we're more afraid of the sun than we are of the nukes. So I'm just telling you, it's a thing that we can't control, and people ought to prepare. It's coming because the sun is not behaving as we thought it would.
Now, Stan, as you're talking about this, and again, what a great product, EMP Shield. That's EMP Shield over at StanDeyo.com. Stan, the sun's not behaving right, and now I've been talking to different people, and I've even got a conference coming up here in May where I'm bringing in Clyde Lewis from Ground Zero. We're bringing in John Moore. John, of course, was in the Navy intelligence and set in on briefings where they discussed Planet X and talked about there would be these waves of energy that would affect the sun tremendously, which ultimately affects the Earth. And even NASA, we've even got some declassified information now from NASA that Stephen Benanoon's going to bring to this conference. So, in your opinion, what is causing the sun to react and to all of this differential of what's happening there?
Well, stars, as you know, they age just like anything else. They start out very energetic, and as they get older and older, their circumstance changes. And we're at pre-red giant start in our mainstream star, our sun. But it's burned up over half of its main hydrogen fuel supply, and we've known that for 30, 40 years. Now, what happens is the reaction inside the sun starts to change when it shifts from a pure hydrogen fusion reaction to a helium reaction. And as a product of the hydrogen burning off, which we've been doing since the sun was first started, it produces a byproduct of helium. And it's in between the two, the balance of the two, that we have to watch that reaction. Now, if we've already clobbered half of the hydrogen supply, it could very easily tip and go to the helium structure. Now, that that will not be healthy for the planet when it does change, because there will be a big flash, maybe 7 times as bright as what it is now. There will be a cloud of dust ejected. We've seen it in other star systems in the Monoceros cluster, and it moves out through the solar system over a couple of months, blocks the light from the sun until it's all cleared from the system. We see this happening. There's something wrong with the sun. Since 1992, I've checked with the Air Force directly with the observation points that do this, and they have been noticing new frequencies coming out of the sun, which indicate that the sun is changing its nuclear chemistry, its nuclear equation inside. And it was a little bit of a surprise to everybody that studies it. So this is why I think we need to watch the sun, and why the Air Force has been telling everybody, hey, that's going to be the bigger problem, because it's going to be so much stronger than a nuclear EMP that, we have to protect ourselves, our home and power supplies and whatever as best we can, because that we can't intercept with a missile. That is by an act of God coming our way when it happens, and it will happen.
So you're saying that the sun has been burning hydrogen, but will start to burn the helium. It'll make a switch, and we're almost to that point now. And did you say it would darken the sun periodically for a period of time?
Well, when this change occurs, I expect to see, we've been looking at another star that just did this in the last 10 years over in the Monoceros cluster. You can look up European Space Agency, ESA, Monoceros cluster, and you can actually see an animation of the cloud that blew off of that star and out through its system over a period of a few months to a year. Now, that's the place to look at it. But what happens is, in this change of chemistry between fusion of hydrogen to fusion of helium, it gets rid of a lot of the stuff that was in the outer shells of the sun during the hydrogen stage, and blows that off like a cloud. And it's a spherical cloud that will surround the sun, and it will be thick, and it will then start to move out and thin out in certain areas and waft out on through the solar system. But while it's doing that between the Earth and the sun, it will be a dark cloud. And even the Old Testament predicts this. And this dark cloud will make the light from the sun turn orangish. And that's why you'll see that the sun will look like blood red color. It's from that dust coming off of the sun between the new sunlight and us. And the frequency of light coming from the sun will change as well. So there are just a number of things that do play into what the book of Revelation says about problems with the sun and the sudden heat from the sun, frying a third of the planet. It all fits into the picture.
And folks, also, Stan, you're talking about the book of Revelation. It definitely tells these things are going to happen. And Joel said it 2 places, even in Joel. In Joel 2, in verse 10, he says, the earth shall quake before them, the heavens shall tremble, the sun and the moon shall be dark, the stars shall withdraw their shining. Okay? Then in Joel 3, the scripture says these words, in verse 15, it says, the sun and the moon shall be darkened, and the stars shall withdraw their shining, and the Lord also shall roar out of Zion and utter his voice from the Jerusalem into the heavens, and the earth shall shake. But the Lord will be the hope of the people and the strength of the children of Israel. So certainly there's 2 more scriptures that say it. There's several places that talk about the heavens will shake. Jesus said, there shall be signs in the sun, the moon, the stars, distress of nations with perplexity, the sea, the waves will be roaring. Men's hearts have failed them for fear, for looking after those things coming upon the earth, for the powers of heaven shall be shaken. So, Stan, the sun going from hydrogen fusion to helium fusion, and I think you said it would be like, besides let go of a cloud, a darkened cloud, that even one scripture says darkens a third of the stars. I believe it's in Revelation. But you said it will get like 7 times brighter, or some kind of a flash?
Well, it does say the light of the moon will be 7 times what it is now. And that means that when that burst of energy comes from the sun that fries all the green things and kills fish and everything on 1/3 of the planet.
Right.
Now, if you look at a ball like this, this is the ball that's the Earth, this is the sun over here. This blast of energy comes out like that. It spreads out. And on this round surface of the Earth facing it, some of the stuff is going to hit and glance off. some of it's going to hit direct. And when you look at the direct hit area that will be affected, it's about a third of the planet, not a half, but a third will be burned, and the rest will get damaged, but not as bad as this. So I think that when the scripture says a third, it's because one side of the earth is facing the sun when this happens, and it happens quick. And when it hits, it just destroys that side of the planet, causes fire and everything. And then it's gone, and the earth atmosphere shares that increased heat and stuff all around the planet, and it's going to play havoc with our weather all over the planet after that. So, yeah, that's why I think that we're entering a stage where the sun's going to change dramatically.
And already changes are taking place, as Stan has already been telling us. And you look at these extreme weather conditions, 100-mile-an-hour winds, straight-line winds, these unbelievable. I mean, I was just looking, Fort Collins, Colorado, yesterday afternoon, 77 degrees. This morning, 21 degrees. Does that even make sense? Have you heard of? You got peach trees or orchards, I should say. You got some of your tree. You guys have mowed the grass 3 times already, and now you're going to have 6 or 7 inches of snow possibly tonight, and rain and thunderstorms and whatever else. I mean, this is crazy, Stan. I've never heard. They're predicting tornadoes, snow, sleet, rain, floods, tornadoes, and wildfires in Texas from all of this. Unbelievable.
We're having a fire warning here in Colorado too, so you can't go out and burn because it's a risk of starting fires and spreading it. Look, years ago I started telling people when the changes start to occur in the sun, we're going to feel it here in extreme weather conditions in places that they never happened before, as our atmosphere absorbs the heat in different places. And so we're going to see these extremes, and we're seeing them now. It's come to pass with the hurricanes and tornadoes like you're talking about, and even with the North Pole moving. Yesterday I put this up on one of my show images page here about the North Pole. Let me just pull that up and have a look at it. I'll tell you about it. Okay, yeah. On my show images page, which you can get to if you go to the Hagman page off of our homepage, you will see slides 46 through 48, where I looked at where the North Pole used to be and where it is now and where it may end up in the next few years. Something is happening with the North Pole. Since 1975, it started moving quicker, and not just wandering around, it started moving quicker. And this quicker business is 30.7 miles per year. It's moving toward a spot in the Arctic Ocean. And I began wondering, why do all these other nations want the Arctic? Is it for metals, minerals, or what? And as I looked at that, I realized that there was something in the path of where the North Pole is moving. I mean, it's moved 770 miles in that period of time. I'm telling you, 25 years, and wow. It's going back to where the North Pole was after the asteroid hit that caused the flood and moved the North Pole to a new location. That's where we are now, and I zoomed in on that with Google Earth to that spot where the movement of the pole is moving to, and you can see where I'm pointing to if you go to my slide 48, and it zooms right to where that green dot is, and if you look at that and then go up to slide 50, this is something that even plays into the hollow earth theory or hypothesis. If that North Pole movement continues like it has been for the last 25 years, it's heading for a hole in the seafloor up there where the North Pole used to be, and you can see the path of how it chewed its way from Iceland up to there. And you'll see a little white arrow if you zoom in on the picture. It's pointing to what the Google Earth community calls that little area, and it's an area that Franz Joseph Land was declared as the polar opening to the North Pole in 1829. Now, whether that's true or not, it's within 200 miles of where that hole actually is at the moment, that periodically may open up as the Earth oscillates and heat is thrown up out of the inner core. This is another discussion, but this is something that is of concern and something I hadn't even realized until yesterday. So have a look at that slide there on our show images page.
Folks, check it out. Go to his website. It's standale.com. That's www.standale.com. And check out his image pages. that was from yesterday's show with the Hagmans, and check that out, and you'll see that. Stan, that's incredible. 775 miles in about the last 40 or 45 years. I mean, that's just incredible. But that shows you that when we start talking about a pole shift, it's a gradual process, but we're really in it. And if you read Isaiah 24, folks, it tells you the earth will be flipped upside down or shall turn upside down. Basically, then says everything gets shifted around and there's devastation. I mean, you don't have to think of it in a one-day event. But then again, if it's getting faster, Stan, there could be like a quick flip, couldn't there?
Well, this is a magnetic pole shift, so I don't know how that affects our surface shift. The actual physical.
Well, I don't think it. I don't think it doesn't mean the surface shifts, but I think if you have the pole shift, it changes the weather climates drastically from.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the movement of electrons under the surface of the Earth do affect, believe it or not, in the crust. These affect where lightning storms actually go and how they form. People aren't really aware of that, but the two are interlocked. So this is very important. I mean, already, the last 5 years they've been having to change magnetic bearings on runways at various airports that were, most affected by this magnetic shift. But the shift, get this, the shift of the North Pole is twice as fast as the shift of the South Pole. It's like, you can see my hand here. This is the North Pole on top. It's doing like that.
Yeah, it's wobbling. So it's a wobble. Yeah. Okay, now, so the Green New Deal, or let's talk about this, the European Union, where we started, where Viktor Orban is saying no, 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 no. I mean, are we going to see nations, is the EU just going to break apart? Is it shattering? Is it tattered? Is these 10 nations maybe going to just pull out of there and form their own deal and leave the other guys behind simply because the culture? I mean, we got Beto, who's running for president, and we also got a couple other folks saying the world's going to end in AOC, I think it is, Cortez, are saying that the world is going to end in 10 or 12 years if we don't start taxing all the carbons. And they're talking about cow farts, and they're talking about, can you help me understand, what are they discussing here?
It's really illogical, totally illogical. What they're saying is, it's like they've been to the bar, drank a bunch of booze, and they're just wandering on saying, oh, let's make trains that go from here to Hawaii and stuff like that. I mean, it's crazy. It's just crazy.
I'm trying.
But on the serious side, the movements in Europe toward a new European Union of some sort may well do that, but we have to factor in the recent joining of the Catholic Church with the Islamic states, the Islamic religion in the Middle East. You see where the Pope and the Grand Mullah, they all got together and gave a big hug. And this new religion that they are forming will affect Europe and that new conglomeration of nations, as well as the Middle East. And so to bring them all together, they're going to have this Christian Islam, form. And when it does, this is going to even bring in beheading for people who don't support the faith. That's from the Arabic side or the Muslim side, which is practiced widely there in Saudi Arabia and some other of the Middle East Islamic countries. So you can see how it fits in with prophecy when they say that during the tribulation period, the believers who are being persecuted will be, beheaded. We don't normally do that in the Christian side of it, but on the Muslim side, they do. So when you see this hybrid religion forming, it's going to affect which nations come together on the Western leg and on the Eastern leg in the Middle East. It's something we kind of have to watch and try to fit the pieces into prophecy as we go. It's a very complex issue, as you would agree, I'm sure.
Yes, absolutely. It is so complex. But as you just said, Stan, so eloquently, we have to watch it. We have to keep. This is why the Bible told us to watch and pray. So we need to understand the hour. He even says one place, pray that you be worthy to escape the hour of temptation. It's coming on the earth. In other words, be aware of what's happening so that you're fully understanding that we're living in the end times. And we're there, folks. And everything's accelerating now. The pieces of prophecy are coming together so quick. It is amazing, really. And so, Stan, we're out of time. I don't know. we're going to have you back soon. Now, you open that can of worms with that Chris Lom. We're going to get into that. A lot to talk about. But again, folks, Stan Deyo, EMP Shield is the product. Again, tell them a little bit more about it, Stan, before we go, and how they can get to one.
Sure. Look, our main website is myempshield.com. That's M-Y, myempshield.com. And if your listeners go there, they can read about what causes EMPs, and they can read up a lot of information and news reports that we put on the site, keeping you abreast of what's happening in the government level and in just the national level about protecting for EMPs. And, we have affiliates like yourself that help people in their neighborhoods, are spreading the word. And we do encourage people, once they get one of these, to talk to their neighbors about, where they got it and how to use it. I mean, we had one lady that got one from us, and one of these EMP shields, and she was talking to her car repair guy who had the hood of her car up, and she says, "Did you know that you could put one of our units across the battery and protect a car from an EMP strike?" And he says, "Oh, really? How's that happen?" So she told him all that stuff, and so he ran off to get him one too. That's word of mouth, because they go to the site and they see how strong our support is from the government and everybody else.
Yes, it is a great product, folks. A great product, patent protected, and what an invention! What a great image. The Bible says it's God who's able to give men witty inventions, and certainly that's exactly what this is, to help us in such a time as this. Stan, we appreciate you being with us today. And folks, go to his website. Go get the EMP Shield. Just go straight there. www.myempshield.com. That's www.myempshield.com. Use the promo code Paul or Paul Begley, and type it in there. Save $50 on the purchase and get this product today. Easy to install.
Be sure you put up the correct code. I'm not sure that it's 2 words. I think it's 1, but I can't remember. So
and I don't know.
File there and put that up on your website so people can use it.
All right, I'll go look the file up. We'll get it up there. Stan, appreciate you being with us. Thank you so much. God bless you and your family, and keep doing the good work.
Thank you. God bless you, Paul. Talk to you again.
All right.